So here we are talking about, you are being asked outline 5 instructions given to Abraham concerning circumcision in Genesis chapter 17. And exactly the way Genesis chapter 17 talks about, those are just the answers that I wanted. Number 1 is circumcision is a sign of a covenant. So you talk about a covenant, I give you. So every male, only male should be what? Circumcised. And then there was the cutting of the foreskin. It was only the cutting of the foreskin of the male organ. Circumcision took place on the 8th day. There's someone who told me after 8 years. No, 8th day. And I underlined the years. Circumcision also should be passed on. What we mean is that it should be passed on from one generation to another. Any bought slave should be what? Circumcised. Of course, they are bought with money, so they should be circumcised. And then, any male who is uncircumcised, any uncircumcised male would be an outcast. If you are uncircumcised and you are male, you would be an outcast. And then he also said that the instruction, Abraham said that circumcision was a sign of obedience. It was a sign of obedience. We go to question 2C. Explain why some people in Kenya find it difficult to worship God. They find it difficult. And here you are told explain, not just not. Because some of you, and I told you explain. I could not give you a point because you are not explained. You cannot say power. No. You have to explain. A lot of wealth. Number 1 is a lot of wealth. That is, some people have a lot of wealth and they don't see the need to worship God. Just that, you already explained. Then number 2, you talk about poverty. If you say poverty, I will not give you that point. You say many people live in abject poverty. Therefore, they find it no need to worship God. They lose hope in worshiping God because they are living in abject poverty. Also, there is discouragement. Some people are discouraged by the bad examples set by members of the church in the society. So this is what we call discouragement, but you should explain. There is also, someone talked about modern technology. You must explain. You say it's influence from modern technology, whereby most of the people spend a lot of their times on phones instead of going to church, or instead of, they have no time for worshiping God. That is how modern technology makes it difficult for someone to worship God. There are also leadership wrangles. Here, if you're explaining, you say there are constant conflicts in some churches. Therefore, you don't need to go to church because especially, I don't understand, in some churches, the choir has a lot of conflicts. Who is dating who? Who is doing I don't know who? If you don't check, the choir can make the church not to go on. We continue. No faith in God. So some people have no faith in God. Therefore, they have no knowledge. Basically, they have no knowledge of God. Therefore, they cannot be able to worship Him because they have no faith. And then others give up on worshiping God when their prayers are not answered. When their prayers are not answered, they give up on worshiping God. Others believe in other forces. For example, witchcraft, devil worship. That's why they are not worshiping God, because they believe in other forces. They believe in powers of darkness. And then some people fear being ridiculed. They fear being ridiculed or mocked by friends when they see you going to church, or when, let's say, especially for the young men. It's during the Sunday and then you dress up and then you tell your friends, I'm going to church. Everyone will look. If tomorrow it's on Thursday, yes, you carry your Bible, like this. And then you say, today I'm going to sing here in front. Everyone will, hey, they'll first clap. And then they'll ask you, hey, today, from the DH to here, everyone will be applauding you. And then by the time you reach here, they tell you what's going on. Ridiculous. Not even friends. Even our leaders. If I'm the leader of the YCS, and then today you decide you want to be participating in the church fully. And then I see you there in front, doing what? Praying. All of a sudden I tell you, you're not, sit down, there's someone who's coming here, not supposed to come here. You see? That's how you send people away from the church. Because I don't want you to go there next to the priest. I'm telling you, no, just sit. It's not you. That's how you make people not to worship what? God. Because you're choosing so and so is supposed to be here, so and so is supposed to be here. No. That is why most people are finding it difficult to worship God. That is what we call also discrimination. And it is highly in our churches whereby most of the men are sitting in the front and then the women at the back. Why does that happen in some of the churches? Especially the rural churches. The men are in the front and then all of a sudden maybe someone is going to eat and then you hear these men are going to eat. And then the other men are just there. And the youth, you see now, that is why the youth are taking matters in their own hands. Because they are being neglected. You were there in the church with your father, right? And your father goes to it and you're there. And you're looking at him. Hey, it doesn't go like that. Now that is where you find a problem whereby after some time the youth grow up, after university they get a job, yes? They don't go back to develop the rural church. Because you did them bad. They were watching and now they have money. So they'll take their money elsewhere. Why do you think they go elsewhere, outside the church? And you hear, oh, your son is very wealthy. And then your son doesn't come to church. Why? Because from the word go, you send them away. That's why we are being told, include the youth in the what? The church. But we are not doing so. We continue. There is also busy schedules, whereby you're so busy you cannot worship God, and permissiveness in the society. Too much freedom. In that you have the freedom of not going to church or going to church. During my time, if the parent locks the door, all of you, she should see you. Even your father should see you in the church. All of you there. If maybe you are going to take your offering there, and then your dad looks at the back like, and they don't see you, you will tell them they gave you the offering where it is. And why are you not in the church nowadays? Actually, your mother is the one who's going to church, and he leaves you there. He doesn't even know whether you woke up and goes to church. You see how that is now the permissiveness, too much freedom for you to do whatever you want. Even on Christmas Day, you still don't go to church. No, I don't know how you can be helped. Question 2C. Explain why some people in Kenya find it. We've talked about it. Question 3A. Give 7 reasons why Israelites demanded for a king. This was so easy. Samuel's sons were what? Were corrupt. You should have started with that. And then they wanted to be like other what? Nations. They wanted a king who would lead them to what? To war. And you give an example of they wanted to lead them to war against their enemies like the Philistines. And then a king who will lead them to battle, or a warrior king. They wanted a warrior king. They wanted a king they could see and approach. They wanted a king who would govern them with law and order. And then they wanted a stable, hereditary kingship. So this is whereby if you're the king and you are towards the old age, you choose your what? Your son to inherit. That is what they wanted. Question 3B. Outline the activities of King Jeroboam, which made the Israelites in the northern kingdom to turn away from God. Number 1, he stopped the Israelites from going to worship where? In Jerusalem. He also made 2 golden what? Calves. Yes, he made the golden calves to represent Yahweh. He also offered sacrifices to the idols, that is to the golden calves. He offered sacrifices to them. He also made, instead of now going to Jerusalem, he made Bethel and Dan centers of worship. He also built hilltops. That is, he built places of worship, for example, the hilltops. He chose priests which did not come from the family of what? Levi. And he instituted his own religious festivals. And he worshipped idols, as we talked about. Those are the points that are required there. Question 3C, identify factors that prevent political leaders from performing their duties effectively in Kenya today. Here you can just mention, you don't have to, because you've been told to identify. Yes? What prevents political leaders from performing their duties? Number one, ridicule. Ridicule by members of the society. Inability to live according to the expectations. Yes, in that you did not as a leader you do not fulfill the promises that you gave. And then also women leaders are discriminated against. They are looked down upon. There is also division. There is divisions. That's why people cannot work well. There are divisions between parties. There is also death threats or insecurity. There is a lot of harassment. Like now, yes? There was a lot of harassment. It is still going on and it's not a good thing. We also have conflicting decisions. Someone makes this decision, another person wants a different decision. So, conflicting decisions. Inadequate funds to carry out development. For example, the way the president is saying, he cannot employ what? Teachers. Yet, he wants the wife to be what? To be paid how many millions? 6 million. So where is that money coming from? No, I'm not supposed to engage you in politics. Anyway, we continue. There is also tribal corruption or tribal leanings, whereby you only support people of your own what? Tribalic, or your own people from your own tribe. You only support those, but tribalism is not there anymore right now. There is also inadequate infrastructure, in that you do not have, as a leader, you cannot work well because you have what? The roads. Some of the roads, for example, when you're talking infrastructure, it's a wide area. You do not have accessible what? Accessible roads. From where we come from up to the school, is it accessible? Yes, that's a good example. And then we also have personal differences. They cannot work well, leaders, because they have personal differences. And this goes beyond that. For example, if in the campaigns you did not campaign for someone who's a leader, I'm not saying like now. When that leader goes into power and is in charge of everyone in a particular country, they end up not bringing development in that area. They tell you never voted. During the other regime, it was like that. If you don't vote, that area doesn't vote for a specific person, you don't get development. And that's why now we want what? We always want what? People to be sincere, because we are the young people who are going there tomorrow. Can you make sure when you go to those seats, you make sure you do what is just? You do what is just. We continue. Question 4. So give me the